Imagine this. You're sitting in a crowded cafe, voices buzzing all around. You're surrounded by people, classmates, colleagues, even friends, yet you can't shake the feeling that you're alone in your thoughts. You wonder, why does everyone else seem so certain, so comfortable fitting in? Meanwhile, your mind keeps drifting, questioning, restless, always searching for something more true, more real. But the more you dare to think differently, the more you feel the chill of isolation. You sense the distance growing not just between you and others, but between you and the person you used to be, before you started asking the tough questions. Have you ever felt this way? That secret ache of being the odd one out, not because you're lost, but because you refuse to settle for comfortable lies. If so, you are not broken. In fact, you might be on the threshold of the rarest transformation a human being can undergo. Today, we're exploring Nietzsche's vision of the free spirit, the rarest breed of human, one who chooses authenticity over belonging, uncomfortable truth over cozy illusions, self-mastery over herd acceptance. You'll discover not just what makes a free spirit, but how you can nurture that courage and resilience within yourself. If you've ever struggled with loneliness, misunderstood by the world, or simply longed to own your uniqueness, this is your invitation. Nietzsche's wisdom isn't just for philosophers, it's a radical, practical toolkit for anyone who wants to break free from the weight of the crowd and become truly, unapologetically themselves. Ready to step outside the herd and into your own skin. Let's begin. Let's start with a simple but challenging question. What does it really mean to be free? Not just in the legal or political sense, but in your very soul. Nietzsche gives us a provocative answer. For him, true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want or simply rebelling for the sake of it. It's about breaking free from the invisible chains that bind most people, the inherited beliefs, social expectations, and comfortable lies that tell you who you should be. He calls this rare type of person a free spirit. But before you picture some wild-eyed rebel, let's clarify what Nietzsche means. A free spirit isn't just someone who defies the rules. It's someone who has the courage to question the rules themselves, to look at what everyone else calls truth or goodness and ask, but is it really? Imagine you've lived your whole life in a room filled with mirrors, but those mirrors are all slightly warped. You never see your own true reflection, only the distortions of what society, family, and culture want you to be. The free spirit is the one who notices the distortion and asks, what if I shattered the mirrors and built my own? But why is this so rare? Because it's scary. Because the world punishes those who step out of line, not always with violence, but with ridicule, exclusion, and subtle pressure to conform. Nietzsche writes, "He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk and run and climb and dance. One cannot fly into flying." Freedom, in other words, is a slow, difficult practice. It's not an escape, it's a journey of self-creation. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you've ever felt pressure to fit in, or shame for thinking differently, you're not alone and you're not weak. The struggle to become a free spirit is real, but it's also the most vital, rewarding journey you can take. Takeaway: start noticing. Where in your life are you accepting secondhand beliefs? Which mirrors are you looking into that don't really reflect who you are? Reflection prompt. This week, try to notice one moment each day when you act, speak, or think just to fit in. pause and ask, what do I truly believe if I set aside all expectations? Why is it so hard to become a free spirit? Because humans are wired for belonging. From ancient times, survival depended on staying with the tribe. The fear of rejection is baked into our psychology. Nietzsche calls this herd morality, the unconscious, automatic impulse to think, feel, and act like everyone else, even when it contradicts our deeper truths. He's blunt. Most people live their lives according to what he calls slave morality. This isn't an insult, it's a diagnosis. Slave morality means living by values that are designed to keep the group safe and predictable, even at the cost of truth, creativity, or authentic selfhood. You see it everywhere. At work, where questioning the status quo gets you labeled difficult. In school, where following the textbook trumps original thought. Even on social media, where a single unpopular opinion can get you exiled. Nietzsche warns, if you only ever chase approval, you will never discover who you really are. He writes, madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. Let that sink in. Sometimes to be sane is to stand apart. So what does this mean for you? Every time you silence your own doubts, just to belong, you trade away a piece of your freedom. The more you do this, the more you become a stranger to yourself. Takeaway: challenge yourself. In the next week, identify one herd belief you've always accepted something everyone knows, and research its origins. Is it really true, or just a story the group tells to feel safe? So far, we've seen that the journey to becoming a free spirit is hard, precisely because it means stepping away from the comfort of the crowd. But if you do, what's waiting on the other side? And what tools does Nietzsche offer to help you endure the inevitable loneliness? Let's be honest, there's a deep ache that comes with thinking for yourself. Nietzsche understood this more than anyone. He spent much of his life misunderstood, ridiculed, even isolated to the point of madness. He writes, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." When you stop seeking permission to be yourself, you will lose some friends. You will encounter loneliness, not the loneliness of being unloved, but of not being understood. Imagine this. You finally work up the courage to say what you really believe in a group discussion. Instead of applause, you're met with blank stares or, worse, snickers. Have you ever swallowed your words just to keep the peace? Nietzsche would say that discomfort is the price of freedom. But here's the twist. This loneliness isn't a curse. It's a test. It's a sign you're leaving the herd and entering the wilderness of your own mind. And in that wilderness, something incredible can happen. Nietzsche calls it self-overcoming, the art of turning solitude into strength, using it as the crucible in which you forge your unique character. So, what does this mean for you? If you feel alone because you think differently, take heart. That's not a sign of failure, but of growth. The key is to transform that loneliness from bitterness into creative energy. Take away, instead of seeing loneliness as proof that you're wrong, ask what new skills, insights, or strengths can I cultivate in this quiet space? Practice sitting with your thoughts right, create, or simply reflect, not to please others, but to find out what's truly yours. We've uncovered why breaking away from the crowd is so painful, and why it's also the birthplace of authentic selfhood. But the free spirit isn't just a hermit. What really sets them apart is what they do with their freedom. Nietzsche challenges us with a daring idea. If you free yourself from the crowd, don't just rebel, create. He writes, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." That is the nature of living creatures. This is the paradox at the heart of freedom. If you don't set your own direction, someone else will do it for you. Nietzsche calls on each of us to become what he calls a lawgiver, not for others, but for ourselves. That means taking responsibility for the principles you live by, the goals you set, the meaning you give your days. Let's bring this down to earth. Imagine you decide to quit your job, not just to escape a bad boss, but because you realize you've never really chosen your path. You face a blank page. No one is telling you what to do. That freedom is terrifying, but it's also the greatest creative opportunity of your life. Most people, Nietzsche argues, will rush to fill that blank page with someone else's script. But the free spirit sits with the uncertainty, listens for their own inner voice, and slowly shapes a life that is authentically theirs. So what does this mean for you? Don't just tear down old beliefs, build new ones. Don't just critique, create. Freedom isn't the absence of rules. It's the presence of self-chosen purpose. Takeaway: start simple. Write down 3 values or priorities that are truly yours, not inherited, not borrowed, but chosen. Ask, how can I act on these, even in small ways, this week? By now, you can see that the free spirit isn't a rebel without a cause. They're an artist of life, shaping their own destiny. But how do you develop the resilience to keep going, especially when the world pushes back? Here's an uncomfortable truth. The more you live by your own lights, the more you will be criticized. Nietzsche never sugarcoats this. He writes, "You need chaos in your soul to give birth to a dancing star." What does that mean? It means that inner turbulence, doubts, and even external rejection are not obstacles, they're the very material you must transform. Think about the people you most admire, not just artists or philosophers, but anyone who stood apart, broke the mold, and made something new. How many of them were misunderstood, mocked, or even hated at first? Nietzsche suggests, if you are not being challenged, you are probably not living your truth. So what does this mean for you? Expect resistance. Expect some people to misunderstand you or even try to pull you back into the fold. But remember, criticism is often the proof that you're no longer invisible. It's the friction that sharpens your identity. Takeaway: try this. The next time you're criticized for thinking or acting differently, pause. Instead of immediately defending yourself or retreating, ask, is there any truth here I can use to grow? Then, decide on your own terms what to keep and what to leave behind. Let's bring these ideas to life with a story, one you might recognize in yourself. Picture this: you're in your early 20s, and all your friends are chasing the same dreams. Steady job, safe relationships, predictable routines. But something inside you just can't settle. You want more meaning, more challenge, more authenticity. You start reading, questioning, exploring ideas that make others uncomfortable. You find yourself in heated debates, sometimes losing friends, often feeling the cold edge of being different. But slowly, in the silence after the crowd goes home, you discover something new. A voice that isn't an echo, a desire that isn't just borrowed from others. One day, you realize maybe for the first time you're proud to stand alone. You begin to shape your own values, even if you're still unsure where they'll lead. Maybe this is you, right now. Or maybe it's a path you once walked, and you've since retreated. Either way, Nietzsche would say, this struggle is not just normal, it's necessary. It's the crucible where the free spirit is forged. So what does this mean for you? Your loneliness, your doubts, your stubborn refusal to just fit in, these are not weaknesses. They are invitations to begin creating the life only you can live. Practical step. Spend some time alone this week, no distractions, no scrolling. Ask yourself, if no one was watching, what would I pursue? Who would I become? Write down your answers, even if they scare you. Let's zoom out for a moment. In a world that rewards conformity and punishes difference, the free spirit is an endangered species. Yet, Nietzsche argues, it's exactly this rare type of person who keeps humanity moving forward, who challenges the truths of today and creates the possibilities of tomorrow. Every breakthrough in art, science, ethics, and even everyday living has come from someone willing to question the script and write a new one. Nietzsche doesn't promise that the path of the free spirit is easy. He warns that it will cost you comfort, certainty, and maybe even belonging. But what you gain is far greater. A life that is yours, not rented from the crowd. A sense of meaning that can withstand loneliness, doubt, even failure. Become who you are, Nietzsche urges us. This isn't an excuse to be selfish or reckless. It's a demand to live authentically, to forge your own values, to bear the weight and the joy of true freedom. So why does this matter? Because the world doesn't need more perfect followers. It needs more free spirits, more people courageous enough to face the discomfort of thinking for themselves and to build lives of meaning, even if it means standing alone. Let's recap the core lessons of today's journey. True freedom is inner. The free spirit is rare because most people trade authenticity for belonging. But you can begin breaking the chains by questioning the beliefs and roles you've inherited. The price of individuality is loneliness, but also self-discovery. You will feel alone at times. Use that solitude as fertile ground for reflection, growth, and creativity. Don't just rebel, create. Challenge the rules, yes. But more importantly, write your own. Craft values, priorities, and a life that are truly your own. Resilience is key. Criticism and misunderstanding are not signs of failure, they are signs you're alive, awake, and moving forward. The journey is yours. No one can do it for you. But you're not alone. Every free spirit, past and present, walks with you in this struggle. What's the single most important takeaway and tool you can use? Self-overcoming. Not the noisy defiance of the crowd, but the quiet, relentless practice of becoming more honest, more courageous, more truly you each day. Empowering message. If you feel lonely on your path, remember the world has always been changed by those brave enough to stand alone. The free spirit is not born, it is made through struggle, reflection, and relentless self-honesty. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be willing to ask, is this really me? And then, slowly, bravely, begin to answer. So, what about you? Where in your life do you most want to break free? Share your story, your struggles, or your victories in the comments below. How will you take the first step to become your own free spirit? If this journey spoke to you, consider subscribing to MindMirror for more deep dives into the art of living and thinking for yourself. And if you're ready for the next step, don't miss our upcoming video, Beyond Good and Evil, Why Your Goodness Might Be Holding You Back. We'll go even deeper into Nietzsche's radical wisdom. Until then, keep questioning, keep growing, and above all, keep becoming. The ideas explored in this video are for philosophical and psychological exploration and are not intended as professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to engage in their own critical thinking and further research, and to consult with qualified professionals for personal concerns.